Heart and Hand is delighted to be partnering up once again with NordVPN, the premier VPN service available. You can safely search out what you like anywhere in the world with NordVPN and make sure that your privacy is protected. Go to nordvpn.com for the full range of offers. Hello everyone and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name is David Edgar. I am your host as always, and joining me this week to look back over a pretty good weekend for the Bears in their treble chasing ways is first of all Alan Bradley.
Hello David, I usually like to come on and have a wee moan, but I don't know, after this weekend it's going to be tough today, David, yeah?
Well, not really, with Kevin Clancy.
Okay.
So we don't need to reach that far.
So that lasted about 15 seconds in that positivity.
Exactly. No, but I know what you mean. No, it was fun for a change, and hopefully cheered up our resident Tel Aviv resident Andy Barnett. Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon. It certainly did. They were actually it was great. It's always nice to get a good result at home, and for once we were able to sit back and relax, David, and then see how it affected them, and they were affected quite badly, which was always nice to see.
I'm not one for conspiracies, right? Especially not from that other side of the city, but I accuse the SPFL today of making them deliberately play the day after us, knowing that we would win unless they played first and lost, in which case we would have drawn. But no, all joking aside, an excellent weekend for Rangers. And I mentioned this yesterday, Alan, that, look, when you change a manager, and not because they leave, a la Gerrard, right? When you change a manager because they're doing as badly as that, a couple of months into the season, that's really bad. It takes a lot for a manager to get intact that quickly into a season. So that generally you would think leaves you in a sort of wreckage of a position. And to be honest, the previous couple of seasons, I think it would have. I think we would have been in real serious trouble in terms of a league campaign. Now, we haven't, I don't think, automatically now just become a great side. And I don't think anyone is saying that. I haven't seen that from a single Rangers fan. Nobody suddenly saying, all our issues are gone, everything's fixed. My goodness, we're the walking wounded. We've got 24 games to fit in before the new year. Yeah. We're aware that players have not hit their form. All of these kind of things. But yet, we're still in a good position. We've cup final coming up. We're still in a good position in the league. Scottish Cup starting in January. Good draw there. I think there are reasons to be very cautiously optimistic.
I think so. And as you say, normally you would think there was a gap when the new manager came in. And because, as you say, for a number of reasons, injuries, the squad he's inherited and blah, 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 the gap would get wider. But I think it's to his credit that obviously it's reducing. And again, just what we're doing at this side, again, Europe-wise too, David, okay, clearly we want to ultimately get into the Europa League, on Thursday, but even the fact that he's got us at least into the conference as well, and as you say, at the weekend as well, we've got a League Cup final to look forward to. So, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm, with the exception of the wee disappointment of what happened to Pittodrie, and then obviously the kind of, the Aris sort of game as well, you really couldn't have asked for much better. And also the way the team now, David, there is a far better work ethic amongst them. Even with the kind of limited resources we've got, the sort of fight, we're looking a lot fitter, we're looking a lot sharper at the end of the games and so on. So I'm really sorry to be Mr. Happy Clappy, and I'm not going to get too high and too low, but I think a lot of credit to, the manager since he's come in, David, yeah.
Yeah, he's given himself a fighting chance, Andy, and no more than that. I think we'd agree, but that's not a bad outcome because, let's just rewind the clock 2 months. We were in shambles, and that was not an easy situation to walk into. Now, I think there was always a suspicion. I think one of the reasons we were so disappointed after the Old Firm game is there is this suspicion that this is not as strong a Celtic side as previously. I think that's fair. I don't think that's us being blue-tinted spectacles on. But of course, it means bugger all if you don't take advantage of that.
No, I think one thing that Alan mentioned there about expectation. This is the first time for a few years, I think, since Pedro arrived, that there's a cautious optimism about a new manager. I think given where we'd been in the last two managerial appointments since Gerrard with Gio and then of course with Beale, we had this really false sense of security as it turned out to be because and we've been stung, and I think because we were stung, I think our expectations for Clement when he came in was see if he can just steady the ship a little bit, try to get the players back fit and playing well. If he closes the gap, great, but we're not going to expect too much, and I think that's helped. I think us as a fan group actually appreciate, because like you said at the very start, nobody has all of a sudden gone, yeah, we're brilliant, it's all back to normal. It isn't. We've still got so much more that we can do, and the fact that they're not as good as they have been in previous seasons, I think is it could have easily have I think blinded us to our own troubles, and it hasn't. We know that we've got a lot of work to do, and I think the fact the manager's able to get this team back to playing well, he has steadied the ship. He's clawed the gap back a little bit. He's got us to a cup final, and we're one game away from, if we win, qualifying for the Europa League last. What will be the last 16 if we win. So, I think the results so far have proven that we are certainly on the right trend. But they're beatable, and it's just a shame, really, that we started the season so poorly because we gave them that 7 point gap. I think most of us would have said it was insurmountable, but it's clearly not. And if we can keep doing the right things and try and do well in the next month, we could really actually be top of the league this time in January. So fingers crossed we will. But even just getting close and getting back into a title race, I think is a huge result. And I think if we can hang in there, David, we might just have a really good second half of the season if we can nail down the January window and get those players back fit.
Yeah, and because of the type of situation, which is a recovery situation, that's what happens when you have to sack a manager and bring someone in. It's a recovery situation. It is one game at a time because the mood can change. 2 wins this week, we're flying. 2 defeats, we're all, under the bed sheets. That's the situation we're in. It's game by game at the moment. But I think, the manager and the players have spoken about that. There's a realisation of that. And it is not an easy time of it. And we'll go and we'll look at Saturday's match. First of all, taking on Dundee at Ibrox, a Saturday 3:00 kickoff, which was nice for a wee change. And not the greatest of starts. I think you're always a bit annoyed as a fan of a club like ours who expect to dominate a game like this in Dundee, where Dundee had a sitter, right, an absolute sitter. The XG for the chance was 0.8, which is, or 0.8 rather, which is, you should score, basically. That's as close to a guarantee. It takes a wonder save from Jack Butland, an absolute wonder save. And that's kind of acts as a warning, but from the set piece, we concede, which is incredibly frustrating. What I will say, Alan, is the reaction was excellent. Rangers, immediately got back on the front foot and rattled in 3 goals. We're playing good stuff, almost added a 4th. Just before half time, we hit the post and some great play. We should have added a 4th, which we'll come to in a second. But the reaction was excellent. After the match, I said to Philippe Clement in the press conference that I've got a concern, or does he have a concern? Because I do, that Rangers start games slowly. And he said, well, no, I don't think you can say that because we've only conceded a couple of goals. And he has a point there, but my point wasn't that we have a bad defence. I don't think we do. And we have an excellent goalkeeper. My point is that we've conceded first in 3 of the last 5 games, all in the first half. And I know that this side has had an issue with it for really 2 seasons, and it just gives you a lot to do otherwise. And I do feel that it takes us quite regularly a wee while to play into a match.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and the way you had asked and he responded, and he said, oh no, we had 2 chances early on, but I think the bottom line was, look, within a small number of minutes, basically, we were 1-0 down. No, you're right, and I think when I was on with Extra with Cammy at the end of last week as well, And that's what I was saying. Now, previously, in the good old days, Davy, whether it be 9-0 or whenever when we're dominating games, as you say, at Ibrox, we would lose one, and then the fans would go, oh shit, we better actually kind of watch and get on with it. The team wouldn't panic, and we'd get right back into it, and away we would go. It's not quite like that just now, but it was noticeable on Saturday that we went, oh shit, here we go again. But there wasn't the same kind of angst coming out. The players just kept on going on. We had umpteen different chances. You should say, obviously, we get the goal and a couple after it. But there does seem to be this, I don't know, there's more of a kind of belief now, and there's not a panic. And we do seem to be getting joined up again between the fans and the players, David. So, second half as well, obviously, you'll get into it too. But again, when you think about it, we were going, oh my goodness, back down to 10 men. Second half again, Rangers totally dominated things. So it's definitely looking better. But again, we're not going to go kind of daft at this point.
Yeah, I've been here before.
Yeah.
Andy, the Jack Butland point, I don't want to just gloss by it because, in the end up it's a comfortable victory. But that save is absolutely incredible. I mean, to get down and get it and push it round the post, not back into play, it's just an absolutely tremendous stop. I read a stat that was provided that last season Rangers XG was 9 point something, and this season it's XG against rather, and this time it's 9 point something. This year we've only conceded 8, so we're overperforming. Last year we'd conceded more than double that, so we were radically underperforming. Last season Rangers save percentage at this time was 61% of shots faced were saved. And I believe Alan McGregor ended the season with 59%. This season, Jack Butland's is 81%. So it doesn't take a genius to work out why the improvement has come. It's come because the goalkeeper makes saves, not only saves he should, but saves an average goalkeeper wouldn't. But also it meant that last season we were conceding when we shouldn't concede. So to go from, conceding goals you shouldn't to actually not conceding ones you probably should, that is going to lead to a huge increase. And defensively, the manager is correct. We are pretty solid. It's not defence that often costs us. Sometimes it's a lack of creativity, I think. And, we've touched long and regular enough on the show about this. But I do want to highlight Jack Butland. What a massive, massive difference he has made.
I think it was really only the Aberdeen at home game where we conceded a lot of goals, and that was a lot of different circumstances. Beale's last game, the team was so shit out of form back then. Aside from that, the defence has been okay. There's been some terrible defensive lapses that have led to goals. We know that. But Butland is, I mean, the quality of the saves he's making in just about every game. I want to say that I don't want us to have to rely on him, but the fact that we do, and he's able to stand up to that reliance is very important. It must give the defenders in front of him a lot of confidence. I just don't want them to have to depend too often on that, especially in games at home against the likes of Dundee and St Mirren. We shouldn't be relying on Butland too often, but in those kind of games, we know that we'll have the majority of the ball, and when the opposition do get a chance, he has to be alert. That's one thing that McGregor was good at, and other goalkeepers before him. And I think we're very, very lucky to have a keeper of such high quality as Jack Butland. It's the defence has looked ropey. I felt at times. I'm still not 100% convinced. I still think we need to do quite a bit of surgery on it long term, David. But getting the goalkeeper fixed was always going to be a big challenge. Last year we didn't have that confidence at all. I think we've got a good second choice as well, and obviously having somebody who's, let's face it, is an England international. That's just, it's great for the club, and as I've said before, I think on the show that Beale's best signing has been, without a shadow of a doubt, the goalkeeper. So yeah, long may it continue, but let's just hope he doesn't have to make too many saves in games where we really should be spending more time in the opposition's box rather than our own.
Yeah, what I like about him is he does have that Rangers goalkeeper quality of he might only have two things to do in a game, but he does them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that ain't easy. That is not easy to do that. But he's very, very good at that. And yeah, he's just been absolutely terrific. And nobody's knocking Alan McGregor. I mean, he's a Rangers legend, Hall of Famer, deservedly so, one of the greatest goalkeepers I've ever seen. But he'd just gone on a bit too long, and it happens to all sports people eventually. And I think that was more a reflection on us not forward planning. But as you say, it's an area that I think we have improved upon now.
Yeah,
On the defence, I thought the defence, Al, in the first half was ropey.
yeah.
And I think a big part of that is that we'd rested Connor Goldson, who very rarely does get rested. Uh, he picks up criticism at time, Goldson, but you see the difference when he isn't there.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the other problem we've got as well, David, about the kind of conceding goals early as well, to the fact that we've changed. So you've suddenly got kind of two different, a kind of different combination in the middle as well. But you're absolutely right. I mean, when you've got Connor Golson playing, really to his kind of optimum between him and obviously Jack Butland right away, you've got that kind of spine, kind of forming, haven't you? So no, and I think it was right though for the manager to give him a rest, as he said. We've obviously got the big game on Thursday, we've got the cup game and so on. So, and to be honest with you, not being disrespectful, but Dundee at home, you should be able to do that, David, and it allows other people to kind of come into the side and so on. But for me anyway, definitely first choice. If we have to, it has to be Conor Golson, yeah.
Yeah, well, the manager said after the game that you can pencil him in for the game on Thursday.
I think the other thing I was going to say too, sorry, going back to the Jack Butland one as well, it's not just those kind of great saves that he pulls off, as you say, or like the Gorham one, nothing's happened, 70 odd minutes, a guy's through and he saves it. What's great now, David, is how long ago was it since we actually saw a Rangers goalkeeper when a ball comes into the box, just doing that whole keeper grabbing the thing, and it just relaxes everyone, does it? Gives you more confidence, yeah.
Defence too, yeah, absolutely. And that is a part. I mean, obviously, if the ball's pinging about your box, there's more chance of a mistake. If you're defending for a minute, more than you would be if the goalie just comes and takes it. He just comes and takes it, end of attack. And it happened a lot at Tynecastle. Hearts quite rightly getting the ball into the box towards the end, trying to win a second ball, hope for it to fall kindly, and it was happening to us a lot because the defence were having to deal with those. Now goalie comes, takes it, end of attack,
screams keeper, grabs the ball, and we all go. Now we're talking, yeah.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge for it. The much maligned Cyril Dessers, Andy, drags us back into this game, and he did with an excellent goal, just about his persistence, really, in the box where he just kept going. His first shot was charged down. He went, got the ball back, spun, got another shot. Not the prettiest goal you'll ever see in your life, but it was an important one.
Very much so. To get the equaliser, I think, so quickly as well after going down early. That's another thing that the longer that goes on, the more frustrated the crowd get. We equalised very, very quickly in the game. And I think as soon as we got that equaliser, I don't know about you guys in the stadium, but for me at home, I felt, yeah, we'll have no problems today now. Whereas at 1-0, I was thinking, oh, this is just going to be a slog that we really didn't need in front of a big week. Just an easy, comfortable routine 2-0 home would have been fine. But the fact is that we had to work a bit harder. Got that equaliser straight away, and he's done very, very well. I actually thought he had an okay game. Like I said to you on WhatsApp, I felt this is probably about as good as we can get at the moment from Dessers. Maybe he's got another level to go. I haven't seen it, but he's scored 7 goals now, and that's not too bad. He is, one every 2.5 games, I think, something like that. And given the fact that he isn't the first choice and he is maligned, we can only ask for him to give absolutely everything that he has, and I think we got close to that at the weekend. He took his goal well. Listen, it deflected in. It wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing goal, but nonetheless, it's a tremendous finish. And I thought his all-round game was reasonable, and sort of 6 out of 10 performance from him, which in a day like that is acceptable. I just hope he kicks on because we need him. Without Danilo, he is the main man really up front. We can't trust Roof. Lammers has not shown anything at all, and so he's the man. So if he can sort of consistently score and bring other players into play, give an all-round performance like that in most of the games, we might just be able to squeeze something out of him. But I was certainly happy for him to get on the goal sheet, and the more he does, his confidence will grow. And I think as well, David, the confidence of his teammates will grow. If they see that if he gets chances, he'll take them, then they'll be more inclined, hopefully, to lay on for him and feel confident that he'll score. So it was big for him and massive for the team.
I feel I could copy and paste this section in, Alan, from previous podcasts. Rangers take the lead through a James Tavernier penalty. It's not awarded by the ref, but it is awarded by VAR. It's a corner kick. And to be honest, I was screaming for it. I thought it was a stonewaller at the time. Quite clearly, Abdallah Sima's making his move to the ball. Quite clearly, the defender hauls back his jersey. You see the way that he falls. That unless he's some sort of stuntman with a cable behind him, it's very difficult to fall like that. He's clearly being pulled. The ref goes and looks at it and awards a penalty. Again, after the match, the Dundee manager, Tony Docherty, was complaining about it. Interesting that if you know, Naismith was to say, if you note the complaints when Rangers get these penalties, it's a nice deflection tactic, an easy deflection tactic for it. They generally pussyfoot around whether it was a penalty, right? Whether or not it was a penalty. They might even say, well, if you look at it, it is a penalty. But they talk about everything around it, such as, well, the ref hasn't given it. We're re-refereeing games. That's something Docherty said. Didn't mention that about the red card, but anyway. He said, the referee's looking at that. Now, referees will all tell you there's too much going on in a court. You can't see everything. You can't. It's one of the things VAR is there to look at. And here's, again, I just go back to it. It's all about creating noise about Rangers. It's not that it's not a penalty. It's Rangers shouldn't get that. Right, because they get a lot of it. Here's a really simple solution we've mentioned before, but it doesn't seem to be dropping in.
Don't pull somebody's bloody jersey in the box.
Jersey off their back in the box. There you go. Right. I mean, to me, it seems fairly straightforward. When you know that there are cameras pointed right at it, and that the ref is going to, the VAR ref is going to look at every corner. If you're hauling somebody's shirt off their back, so much so that there's about a foot between your hand and the boy, and you've got his jersey, there's a fair old chance it's going to be a penalty kick because it's a fucking penalty kick.
What the manager should be doing, and I think you're just above me in the enclosure, where of in the main stand. So you see it, I see it from where we are, David Jean, you right away. And as you say, the manager, if anything, should be booting the guy's backside. They should actually honestly just be saying, whether I agree or don't agree with it, everybody knows now if a defender pulls a guy, holds onto the jersey and it comes in, it's going to be a penalty. End of, I'll boot his back. As you say, the amount of times they do it, you're saying about cut and paste, you've probably got files as well, David, where you could link onto umpteen different, I don't know, kind of highlights things on BBC or whatever, giving it the old, well, I know he kind of pulled the jersey, but he didn't really kind of pull him. It's just ridiculous. And as you say, they always then link it to, well, it's Rangers, it's penalty for Rangers. Got another record on there. Yeah.
It's all about creating that noise of, well, maybe it was a penalty, but they shouldn't get it because they get a lot of penalties. We get a lot of penalties because defenders pull a lot of our forwards after they've lost them in the box at set pieces.
I mean, technically, someone smashed the window. David went in and took a few watches, and I know that that's kind of a crime, but should we really be kind of chat?
Yeah,
it's just daft.
Yeah. It's a silly non-defence of it, I think.
I know.
And Sima shows a few minutes later exactly why the guy was holding his shirt when he bulleted one in. So that this is the thing. I know we're maybe jumping ahead, but players have been doing this for a long time. This shirt pulling stuff. They're told for a few years now it's to be stamped out that a penalty will be awarded. I don't know what more they want, what players and managers want than that directive saying, listen, if you pull a shirt, it's a penalty. That's it. So don't do it.
I find it very frustrating because, personally as a football fan, when I watch games, especially, not involving us, I hate it. I think it's just lazy, cheap defending. Defend better, yeah. Don't
Davey,
let the man get the run on you.
Davey, if Goldson had done it for us, if he was playing for us and pulled somebody's, I would have been absolutely raging at him. I wouldn't have been going, well, there's X got a penalty, there's Celtic have got that. The bottom line is, as you say, everybody blinking knows the rules, don't they?
Yeah. Just don't do it. And I think it's lazy, and I think it's a cop-out from managers. But again, it's easy to use that as a deflection technique and change the discussion point. Yeah, basically, just to completely change it. It is 3-1, as Andy mentioned a few moments later. A superb goal, corner kick delivered, and up went Abdallah Sima, who is on fire right now, Andy.
It was fantastic. I said the goal reminded me of Goff, the other end in '96. That kind of looping header, almost with such pace and power, high into the net. It really was beautiful, and it just shows that's exactly why the defender couldn't cope with him before, because he knows that Seema's good in the air. He times his runs, he times his jumps, and he's a good header of the ball. I'm really happy with what Seema's been able to give to the team so far. He's joint top scorer alongside Tav, and it's just great to have a forward being able to contribute with all types of goals, running on to through balls as he did midweek, good first time finishes, headers, and he's been on the end of sort of cross balls as well at the back post. So he's doing a lot for us, and he's not out and out. He's sort of playing more on the wide positions and just timing his runs. He's a useful weapon for us. I hope, and I don't know what the update is, but I certainly hope that he's fit and that head not later didn't do any damage. That means that he's ruled out of the two upcoming matches, because we really, really are going to need him.
Yeah, we most certainly are. And I think you noticed that when he did go down the stadium going, ooh, not that we've, not had our troubles this week with injuries regardless, but so Rangers 3-1 up, and I genuinely believe at that point we're playing some really good stuff. As I said, there was a passage of play that brought Ibrox to its feet for a round of applause, which is always a sign of fans enjoying what they're watching. Could have been 4-1 just before that. A brilliant goal by Todd Cantwell. The manager said afterwards, for me, we scored 4 goals. And he criticised Kevin Clancy on this one, Alan, for blowing up. Firstly, it's not a foul, right? It's one of these Clancy fouls where he just invents something. It's not a foul. Basically, a Dundee player has slid in for the ball, hasn't won it. Goes down to try and fool the ref into giving something, and the ref just blows automatically. Rangers break with the ball. You are supposed to see what happens. We do have VAR there for this very reason, to go and check it. He would have seen it wasn't a foul. Mm-hmm. Todd Cantwell scores a beauty, and instead it's ruled out. He is just an atrocious referee. This was brought to fun. I'm not even going to go at the red card, by the way, because I can see why it was given. I'm talking more about this is bad. And in the second half, Cyril Dessers turns the boy hauls his shirt back. It's a free kick and a booking, but he doesn't get booked. Seconds later, Borna Barisic does the same thing and gets booked. Now, Borna Barisic is a booking. I have no complaints whatsoever about Borna Barisic getting that booking. I bet you he doesn't, because he knows exactly what he's doing. You see it. I saw it in a game yesterday where the defender gets done for pace in the Newcastle-Tottenham game, and he goes, right, I'm going to haul him back here because it'll be a yellow here. He's not right through yet. Barisic does that to avoid the counter and takes the yellow. It's the fact that the exact same foul has happened a few seconds before and hasn't been given. It's stuff like that.
Yeah, I think at the game I remember the Barisic one, and right away I was going, stupid, because it was in their half as well. You're right, David, but right away you go, that's a booking. But as you say, the fact is, it's the fact that it's not consistent. Honestly, as long as they're doing it, kind of fairly between the two of them, ain't got a problem. But there's so many different cases, as you say, where, okay, Rangers player gets booked, suddenly the other one doesn't, and it's the exact same things. And you're right, I watched the one in the English game, and right away the pundit said, yeah, kind of had to do that, because if not, the boy was away.
Yeah,
we all know it. Everyone knows it, don't they? Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the Dundee player doing it, by the way, because he's been turned and he's just about to be left behind. So he books, he hauls him. It's a booking. And it's shit like that. When you watch something, you see, you cannot make those two decisions, Andy. You can make. They're either both bookings or they're not bookings, and they are both bookings, but you can't say I'm going to let that one go and book that. That's why fans think, right, you're at it.
Yeah, it was pathetic, and he did that a lot in the second half. Clancy allowed, I thought, some sort of typical Tony Docherty team type of challenges to take place. I thought Dundee, while they were not bad going forward, they were a very physical team. The amount of times they booted Seema, McCausland, our forward players, and would seem to get away with it. I think that was Ricky Lamb, whatever it is, the guy at the back, 3, 4, 5 times. He got away with it before a yellow card, and it just sort of sets the tone. And we've said it so many times, like how often do referees not do something like that, and we end up with an injury because players know they can get away with it. They know they can have a free dig or even 2 or 3 digs before they'll get a yellow card. But the consistency thing is unforgivable. Like you cannot do that. You can't see it almost identical to allow one to go unpunished and the other one to be booked. You're 100% right. You either book them both or you let them both go. But the more the game went on, I got the impression Clancy was enjoying trying to frustrate everybody in the stadium. The players, the fans, and of course Clement ended up getting frustrated as well on the touchline. He's just one of those guys. For whatever reason, he just either enjoys being the centre of attention or just to piss us all off. But it was very frustrating to watch.
I think he's just a terrible referee and he knows it. And I think that he starts guessing in games. And there's never any sanction for bad referees in Scotland. There never is. They're allowed just to he used to be out the game a couple of years ago because he's very bad. And it really is that simple. But he's just an atrocious referee and his decision making is scandalous. Like I say, the Cantwell goal one is ludicrous. It's not a foul anyway, so it's a mistake. No. But, it's compounded by the fact that you see the break, you let it go. And then, by the way, you blow and the goal gets checked and you can, a decision can be made for there, but it was just awful. Rangers do, sit in a bit more second half, countered, did well, had a couple of chances actually, should have scored. Very unlucky with one from Dujon Sterling, who came on and played centre midfield, and he may have to because Rangers are beyond the bare bones situation with this, Alan. Now, the red card for Cifuentes, I must admit I didn't see much in it at the time. Having seen it back, I can understand why it was given. Rangers have appealed it. Listeners might know the outcome of this because it'll be held on the Tuesday by the time they come to listen to this. So we don't, obviously, at the time of recording. I don't blame Rangers for appealing it. A few people were saying, can we not have left it to Friday afternoon and appealed then and have them for the cup final? No, you can't do that anymore because every team did this, right? And they took advantage of that loophole. So they've changed it now that you need to appeal within a set amount of time and it's heard very quickly, fast-tracked, as they say. So we'll see if he gets it. The argument, I think you could say, is was there enough force? Was it endangering a player? I think he's totally accidentally does the stud scraped down the boy's leg. You could argue that there wasn't enough force for it to be considered a reckless challenge or a dangerous challenge. Rangers might say it was just merely kind of unfortunate. I think there is something in it, but I have seen them given, to put it that way. It's one of the ones that, put it this way, if it happened to a Dundee player, I don't think I'd be sitting here going, that's a shocker.
No, you're right. And
I don't like the rule, by the way. I don't like the rule. I think that a bit of common sense should be used, but it is the rule.
Yeah, I would agree with you as well, David. I was the same. I didn't really see anything that kind of untoward. And then when it suddenly becomes it's a booking fine, I've looked at it from different angles. There was one where, as you say, you look at it and you think, oh my goodness. And then you get that daft, was there intent, wasn't there? It doesn't really matter. So I think we just need to wait and see how it is. I'm not optimistic, about it. Hopefully we will. If we don't, you mentioned about, Dujon Sterling as well. To be honest with you, even what I saw in Tynecastle when he came on surprised me, the big game. I thought there was a couple of nice things there. Again, I don't know. To be honest with you, he could maybe do a job, David, on the in the midfield, because I think obviously come the final as well, Aberdeen, what it's like, are going to be really physical, like Shinnie and so on. They're going to be battering in. I think we need a bit of physicality as well within there. You don't know. I mean, okay, they might end up with Leon King or whatever in, but to be honest with you, what I've seen between obviously even the Tynecastle and just the wee bit on Saturday, I think the boy Sterling doesn't look too bad in terms of giving us a bit of pace, a bit of strength, and so on. And we might end up doing that, David. Yeah,
we might need to, Andy.
Yeah, listen, for me, just for the record, I thought it was a red card. I wouldn't say it was the stonewalliest of stonewall ones, but I would be claiming it if it was the other way around. And I agree with you. I think it's a poor rule. 10, 15 years ago, it's barely a booking. And before that, you might have just got on with it. But for me, it was a red. I thought it was a bit careless, and it's just a shame because I thought in the last couple of games, Fuentes had actually started to improve a bit, and we were starting to see something for him. So it's left us bare bones. As for Sterling, I thought he did really well when he came on. It was that lovely chance you spoke about. It would have been an absolute fantastic goal had it just been a little bit to the left of that post, but not to be. Yeah, I don't know what the alternative options are. Bailey Rice, too young. King, I don't know if he's ready for that kind of position. Sterling seems to have physicality, fitness, Seems to know his way about the pitch in that position as well. Whoever it is, John Lundstrom's going to have to marshal him through the game, both midweek and at the weekend. And I would also expect to see maybe Cantwell dropping in a little bit deeper to kind of support that. But then what that does is it takes a little bit of the creativity out of going forward. Yeah, it's a situation we don't want to be in. So many midfielders out, and but I think that's the best option for midweek. Sterling is in the European squad, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He is. So yeah, so I can't see any other option other than him starting alongside Lundstrom. But thankfully, Lundstrom has been playing well, so whoever fits in will hopefully be able to be marshalled around and hopefully put in a good shift. But I'm not overly worried.
Sorry, Andy, if the manager gets this one right, because for the past 2 months now, every time he said a wee, okay, here's the quiz, how are you going to solve it? And more often than not, he has. So if he can come up with something in terms of this one as well, if it goes that way, it would be amazing, wouldn't it, if it's like just bring him in? Because apart from bringing two guy in, sweeper, do you know what I mean? Which probably can't do now. But I think he's done really well at this problem solving stuff. Yeah.
Well, I wondered if there was a chance he would go three at the back, maybe, but like to bring in Suter to play at the back.
Still leaves you. Yeah, he's still left short in the middle of the park, though. We need a body.
Yeah, we need some in front of them. Yeah.
Even if we go with a three, I think you'd still have the two in there. So, it's going to be tough. Well, Real Betis only drew at home at the weekend. I mean,
they weren't playing anybody, were they? No.
Well, that's I'm giving with one hand there. They only drew. I'm taking with the other. It was against Real Madrid. They're a very good side. Look, we know this. A record in Spain's piss poor, Andy. You're a stats guy. You'll know this.
Yep.
It's going to be incredibly tough, to be honest.
Yeah, listen, we might have to hope for a favour from the Cypriots because, of course, Sparta need to win. We can technically, I think, go through even with a defeat, if I'm not mistaken. So, but obviously I don't want that to happen. It's going to be hard. We've never won against a Spanish team in Spain. It's not going to be easy. It never is for one reason or another. But I think maybe a bit of relaxation and that the players know that they can go out and play with, as Alan mentioned at the start, we have got the security blanket of the Conference League after January, and that is guaranteed. So it's not the end of the world. And if I had to pick one game this week to win, I would pick the cup final. If I'm being very honest. With that said, we were the number one seed in this group, so we should be qualifying from it. There's no real excuse not to, but it won't be the game on Thursday, the result on Thursday that has let us down if we don't get through. It will have been the back to back against Aris. And I think we might rue that and look back on what happened in those two fixtures because we should not have been getting 1 point out of 6. And if we'd done a half decent job, even a draw and a win, 4 points, we'd already been home and dry in that group. So, yeah, listen, I don't think we can look too much on the game itself, but I'm hoping that the players go out and maybe ever sort of sneak a surprise. I think it would be a bit of a surprise win, to be honest, but we can certainly do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We hadn't beaten a Spanish side at Ibrox since 1985 up until we played Real Betis. So there's no, we can do it. And I think, although people wouldn't say this, we're all staunch. We got to win every game. Every game's massive. I think Andy's right there, Alan, when he says the one that we're really focused on, deep down, is the cup final. We have to win that one.
You're right. I mean, obviously winning the one on Thursday would be great because it would put us to the last 16 more money and so on. But, as somebody who's probably seen Rangers winning the League Cup, 20 odd finals or whatever, David, that's our trophy. And we've got to win this one. We've got to get back to the situation where even in the bad old days when it wasn't going well for Wallace or Greg, we turned up at finals and we won. And teams used to really panic. Shit, it's Rangers at Hampden. We've got to get back and get that psychological thing too. I think close this one out, get the shiny thing. It would give us such a great boost as well. And I think it's just that other wee step forward in terms of how we do. Nope, we've won the league now. We got to the European final, Scottish Cup. To me, in terms of our kind of getting back up there again, David, I think it's a massive one. And I know you guys will mind with when Souness came and getting that League Cup 100%. And so on. But it's just that same kind of feeling. To me, this, and because we've failed a few times recently, this is a biggie. I'd love to do it on Thursday, but no, as I say, if I had the choice out of the two of them, it's going to have to be this League Cup final.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, football doesn't work like that.
I know.
The
Could we
games
have
will
both,
be-
please? Yeah.
Yeah, the games will come down to what we do on the individual nights, and at least Aberdeen are playing the same night as well, rather than having a week off, which would have been a huge advantage for them. So there is that. But yeah, we look forward to both those games. Cammy will be along later in the week on Heart and Hand Extra, folks, where he will look back at the Aris game and look ahead to the Cup final. We'll be back here next Monday with a review of the Cup final, and hopefully it's a celebratory one. Before I go today, can I just point you in a direction? If you're struggling for Christmas presents, a great last minute one would be tickets to see our live show at the Leicester Square Theatre in London with Paul Gascoigne that takes place on March the 21st. If you visit the Leicester Square Theatre website, just type that into Google or visit leicestersquaretheatre.com and go to their What's On section. You can purchase tickets for you, for a loved one, bring them to come and see Paul Gascoigne and the lads in a beautiful theatre actually in the West End of London. So there you go. There's a wee present, last minute, easy present. You don't need to go outside. You just buy them and you can send them the email and show them the tickets. So there you go. Right, my thanks, sir, executive producers in London, Mike Lee and Paul Miles, and my thanks to my two guests today. First of all, Alan Bradley.
Thanks, David. Really enjoyed it. Yep. And Andy, I hope everything's going fine over there as well. You and the family, pal, yeah?
And of course, to Andy.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the kind words, Alan. Thanks for having me on the show, David. And I hope you boys have a fantastic week.
Yeah, I hope every Rangers fan, when we come back here next Monday, is in a very good mood. Thank you so much for listening, folks. We'll be back next Monday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye, everyone.